Well, a very warm welcome to Coventry University, and thank you very much for taking part in this initiative, which is, as you know, a collaboration between the university and the Chartered Management Institute for the benefit of our postgraduate students. Welcome John, Farai and Nick. Thank you for coming. John, can I just ask you to tell us a little bit about who you all are, what organisation you represent, and perhaps a bit about what you do and who your customers are?
Yes, certainly. My name's John Osborne. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of Bendigo. Bendigo was created about 2 years ago, so it's a fairly new startup. And it's quite a unique arrangement, really, in that we've brought together two aspects of my past is in health and social care provision. Nick's background is in smart home technology. Farai's is from nurse and learning development background. And what we've developed is a product that helps to support people using assistive technology to remain independently within their own home when they have specific levels of healthcare need, particularly around dementia is one of the things that we started the project around. But we have a product that has many different applications, and so we're exploring some of those, and hopefully that'll come out in the course of the interview.
Okay, that's great. That's very interesting and slightly enigmatic, since you haven't exactly done what it does. So
oh, right.
I mean,
Yes,
could you expand and tell a bit more?
Yeah.
How have we got?
Yeah. What it is that assistive technology is a term that is used to describe a whole range of gadgets and devices that people can buy to support them with aspects of daily living. And there are literally thousands of these things that have been created. One of the problems is within the whole assisted technology world. In fact, there was an assisted technology charter created in 2012, I believe, which heralded how important assisted technology could be or should be within health and social care provision. What we know is that sort of potential has not been reached. And one of the things that I suppose we happened on at one level, partly through our joint experience, was the fact that the reason we believe that hasn't happened is the fact that the systems are not integrated. They don't speak to each other, they don't have an understanding of what they're trying to achieve, they're not person-centred to the individual. So, I mean, Nick, do you want to say a bit about how you put the system together for your dad?
Yeah, sure.
And then that leads into some of the other.
So this is born out of my father, who's now 89 years old. I've been diagnosed with dementia sort of 2.5, 3 years ago. And gradual memory loss running up to that point. He was living alone in a warden-aided retirement apartment. And he started to wander, would go out at night, and invariably when he was in that sort of state was ending up falling and ending up in hospital. And I kind of looked around thinking, you know, I work in a sector where we are putting technology into people's houses. So they're normally very rich people with lots of money to spend, so we're putting in lighting controls, heating controls, audio visual systems, home cinemas, integrated security, all that kind of stuff. And it was something that I could use the technology that we're doing for them on a smaller scale to assist me to look after my dad. And so I started to develop it based on a home automation platform, and it has evolved over the years. So it can do a number of things. It can start off just doing basic alerts and monitoring. So you can see on a web page movement sensors, pressure pads, door sensors, etc. So, for example, I put a very, very small door sensor on his microwave door, and just to be able to check that he was cooking his food. I could see the door being opened and closed. But where, and there are other systems on the market that can do that, but where we are different is that we can then respond to that in the home using a text-to-speech engine and loudspeakers around the place, and actually make announcements to, you know, remind them to take medication, to remind them maybe they've opened the microwave door, they've put their food in, but they've not then gone and got the food out again, which is a regular thing.
Okay, so it's basically seen as a carer-operated system for the benefit of the person being cared.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can do other things like, it's not just caring, but it's also quality of life. So
Sure.
we can control a television from a Google Calendar. So you want to turn a TV program on to a particular channel, if they like Coronation Street or whatever, you can automate that so the TV can come on at the right time. Announcements can be put in via the calendar to say, I'm coming around to take you to the doctors, please don't go out, which was a regular thing I'd have with my dad. I could turn him to take him to the doctors, and he's gone out for a walk.
Yeah.
Because time of day orientation is the first thing that usually goes with
Yeah.
dementia.
So it's actually quite particularly interesting to me because I'm a designer, and one of the standpoints of design is developing something for an extreme need group, which can then develop things which are beneficial to us all.
Yes.
Because actually, I mean,
Absolutely.
you're talking about quite an attractive sort of way of life in a way.
Yes.
This is about helping people to have well-being, and that's an important marker of quality of life when people are able to do things more easily or regain independence.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's what we're
The
about.
thing that generally means that people have to go into homes, which is, one of the issues of the day, isn't it? Is if they could get in a situation where they can do something damaging, probably to themselves. So do you see this as something that could hopefully keep people in their homes longer?
It's a key function of the system. On one level, it's about monitoring, and that is about managing risk for the person who might have dementia or a other condition that requires assistance, and peace of mind for their carer, who usually is a family member.
Right.
So monitoring is a key feature, but we also look at things like quality of life, entertainment,
Yeah.
and social interaction.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, it all sounds very expensive, but presumably there is a sort of an equation by which it saves money in other ways.
It's a misconception, I think. One of the things that if you work as Fry and I've worked in care settings for many years, people don't realise the cost of care.
Right.
If you're looking for a residential nursing home unit, it's £800 to £1,000 per week.
Yes.
So actually, a system like ours, which costs somewhere between £4,000 and £6,000, for example,
Yeah.
will be paid for in a couple of weeks and can prevent
Sure,
somebody
that
going
is
into
not a
care.
huge amount.
Yeah.
No.
And because the system is modular, we can actually assess the individual person's need, not only what they need, what they want,
Yeah.
their particular likes, dislikes, their preferences, build that into the logic within the system, so it meets their particular needs. It's not just one size fits all.
That's another point that I was thinking, is that the challenge of designing traditionally, as I've done for people with particular needs in healthcare, is that they're all different.
Yeah.
And that's now you're saying that one thing that the technology allows is a level of flexibility.
Yes.
Completely, and one of the things that we spend time doing, and why it's a unique sort of combination, is Nick has the technical expertise, we have the care expertise, and that's something that, looking around, people see the benefits of technology, but they've never actually been able to marry the two together. What we've done is create a person-centred assessment process whereby we can actually ascertain exactly what the person wants to achieve, what their real issues are, what their aspirations are.
Right.
And so actually it's building back in and using technology to rebuild independence. Quite often you were saying about people going into care, and it is often about risk, is managing risk of some sort. It's also about the pressure on families when they are that they're in that caring responsibility. If they know and they can be reassured that something's happening, if the system will tell them somebody's now in bed and is asleep,
Right.
they can just switch off.
Yeah.
But if something happens, they can be alerted, and again to their own particular likes and preferences. The other thing that a lot of people go into hospital and then are scooted straight off from hospital into residential care. when quite often they don't need to be there, but there's actually no halfway house that can do it. We can build that by putting in technology that supports them. And it's not replacing human contact, it's supporting human contact.
Well, I mean, this is actually very convincing. You certainly put a very good case for it. I mean,
Well, there you go.
Can we move on to talk about the company itself a little bit? And one of the questions that we have here is, could you say what you think the company does particularly well, and what are the areas that you would like to develop?
I think one of the things that we do well is that because we have this marriage of technical and skill in health and social care, that's a really important strength of the company. And what we tend to find, or what I find, is that we'll come up with a particular problem. And because Nick comes at it from a technical perspective and not from a health and social care perspective, he just thinks about different solutions. And so we would probably, oh well, we've always done it this way, in care you do it this way.
Yeah.
Actually, no you don't. You can actually look at it somewhere else and bring in a different product. I mean, we've been using anti-terrorist cameras in one home.
Right.
It's crazy. But
Yeah,
actually
I
it
think
works.
that is our strength.
I
It's our
yeah,
ability
thinking
to
out the box.
innovate and think outside the box, because there are some traditional healthcare and social care issues that, because they're being managed by people who have a health and social care skill set, they don't think about
Right.
the wider applications of technology, and so working together gives us that advantage. And there are some really simple solutions to problems which, you know, as a nurse 10 years ago, I would not be able to give you the answer apart from monitor this person. And health and social care does tend to be a draconian way of supporting people, because it's almost an all or nothing. You need to be in care, you need to be monitored, and you need to be kept in a safe environment, whereas technology is giving people the opportunity to be much more
Sure.
independent.
I mean, does that mean that you get a certain amount of resistance from the sector itself?
There is resistance in terms of, first of all, people understanding those applications for technology, the opportunities that it gives them. But in a way, I think it's the main barrier is this idea of actually engaging people with technology.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's quite interesting, we attended a Smart Cities event, and one of the things that there were a number of leading clinicians there, weren't there, Nick? And one of the things that was really surprising for them was, well, where's your clinical evidence?
Right.
Well, hang on a minute, how do we have to start proving everything in order to know it works? And certain things work. And we have, there is research going into it. We're working with Coventry, we're working with Loughborough, we're working with a number of universities and seeing the potential and what we can do. I think there is this tendency, it's this mistrust of technology. And, oh, well, will it go wrong?
Yeah.
And actually, we're all surrounded by technology. We
Sure. And nobody's in any doubt it's the future. But one of the things that the students cover in this module is benchmarking, which is obviously a way of measuring, and presumably that could be applied to your systems. Because what's your expectation from a particular function, so you can benchmark it and then measure whether it's working.
Because it's intelligent, and that's the difference between the Bendigo system and other products out there. So you might, for example, want to sort of monitor someone's movements because they have a risk of falling, and so what you do is plug in a pressure cushion, so it's on a chair. If they stand up, an alarm goes off, and they've stood up, and you can maintain safety. One, that's got to be plugged into a wall socket, which means one chair in one position, and then you've got to respond to that person in order to maintain safety. What the system is doing is creating almost a wirelessness, which means there's flexibility in how you can use that pressure pad. It's also allowing you to look at data behind the scenes, so you can look on your computer and find out how many times that alarm went off, and use that as an analysis of whether the tool is actually working
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
Is it the right piece of kit to use? So the data gathering is important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, this has been so absorbing that I've got some more questions about something that I'm supposed to be asking. So to go back to the sort of the general business of the company, the question is, how do you understand leadership? How does the company work in terms of its accountability and leadership chain?
We're quite, again, we're a bit unusual in that, aren't we?
We're quite a small company at the moment, and largely we don't employ anybody at the moment. So there's 4 of us on the board. We have regular meetings, and we've generally started off quite lean. So we subcontract when we get an installation. My company does that installation and programs the system, because I already have the guys who know all about the technology. Just maybe not in the environment that we're using it in, but they certainly know how to install it. John and Fry are more than capable of carrying out the assessment aspects of it, and so we no doubt will end up employing people because we want to grow. But we're in the early stages at the moment.
So in terms of my next question, which is how does communication work and the decision-making process, how would you describe that?
It's very much, we work very closely together, and it's very much about respecting each other's expertise, knowing that, you know, if there is something that we need to make a decision on, it's usually by consensus, isn't it? We work it through, talk about the processes. We obviously make sure that I think Farai's nursing abilities sort of, and that brings another sort of area of expertise. And the 4th member of the board is very much into social administration and creating all the different sort of systems that we use. So we know, we build on each other's strengths, and there's certain things that what we'd like to do is ask people to challenge us as well. And I think that's one of the things we've brought in very much into the way we're trying to operate as a company, is not sort of be defensive about what we do, but just sort of, we've both run businesses for many years, and so it's not something about getting defensive about it. It's about let's do this well, and let's do it interestingly, and let's innovate, and and actually develop those ideas and processes and enjoy it.
Sure, there must be a level of kind of decisions such as risk. You know, do we invest in that? Do we go ahead with this one or with that one, which has an element of uncertainty? Does it?
I think if you're exploring those things, and actually we spend a lot of time looking at areas of risk and what is it, and Kate, if she were here, would be very much, she advocates for looking at how the health and safety angles of it. What are there any issues here that we need to be mindful of? How do we build those into the system?
And she has very much the policies and procedures piece.
Yes.
Okay.
So in terms of operating as a business and operating well, all of those things are in place, and it's making sure that we have terms and conditions for our products and sales and all the
there's
admin
technical
stuff.
that's interesting. I mean, one thing I did want to sort of bring up was being a company based on innovation, intellectual property is presumably pretty important.
And very expensive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's known that when you have a sort of innovation-based company like yours, that it can be used by other normally larger companies for you to test out whether this is a good, successful marketplace, and then they start investing. I mean, but so you have to protect yourself. I mean, could you comment a little bit about the students?
One of the first things we had to do was sort of protect our own IP from the beginning. So we've worked with an intellectual property lawyer to get that. We started with a patent application for the UK. It became clear that we were getting interest from Australia, the States, Germany, Norway. People are finding us because what we're doing is different. So we've now gone for a worldwide patent, and on all the associate costs that go with that, which are for a startup are challenging. Yes. So but you have to have those things in place because we want to protect ourselves and be mindful of our authority and also protect the product and the name the product has. You know, it isn't just something that you can. I would hate to see somebody just ripping it off and doing some of the lesser things.
Yeah, that's I see that significant because if people are to sort of believe in it, they don't want sort of cheap
No.
Yeah.
impressions. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So my last actual question is about the future. It is what is your future vision? What do you see as the external, internal influences, opportunities, threats for the future?
Oh, tomorrow the world. No, it's.
I think that the message of that is that a positive attitude is important.
It is.
It is.
It is very good.
Yeah.
It is very good.
I think one of the things that's quite fascinating about what we're doing is that we can see things changing and moving very quickly. We're working with the university, and there's things about artificial intelligence that we're helping to build here at the university within learning environments. There are ways in which, in some ways, one of the problems we face at the moment is pulling some of that in, and actually not getting diverted into, yes, let's go and follow this because we can do it. It's actually saying, right, what do we need to concentrate on first, get established and move on, because we are being pulled in a lot of different directions because the potential is so great.
Yeah. But I think for the future, we definitely want to see Bendigo as a recognised brand,
Yeah.
and for it to be associated with innovation, where people can actually say, we have a problem, we know where to go for a solution, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely does.
But also to be about peace of mind, because health and social care is in the media all the time. We are in crisis, and I think it's time to look wider than the human resource and adopt assistive technology as part of, as a useful add-on to what is health and social care. And so I think that's where we see ourselves.
Yeah, that's it. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking part in this initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was
It's a pleasure.
fabulous.